Can I ask you a question? Should we be done with conference championships? Like, we have number 1 and number 2, Indiana versus Ohio State this weekend. And it makes zero sense. If the commission has already said it's not going to affect their judgment, if they're technically still going to stay 1 and 2, why not sit all your best players and be like, hey, why hurt these guys more when we have 3-4 more games to play?
Yeah, I'll do you another one. I mean, the Big Ten's the easy one. Look at the SEC. So Alabama's in the playoff right now. Mm-hmm. If they just don't play Saturday, they're in the playoff. Now, they don't have a first-round bye, so technically they could play Saturday and get that. That'd be wonderful. However, if they didn't have the game this weekend, that would be their bye. So what happens to the SEC? Because, like, Georgia's going to be in no matter what. There are folks out there walking the streets this morning who are seriously suggesting to you, if Alabama loses Saturday, they're going to fall out, which I think is insane. But same question for both conferences there. Why have your game Saturday?
Yeah.
That's why I think with this new talk about we're going to restructure the playoff or whatnot, if they do it, whatever changes they make, they've either got to crystallize the value of conference championship games or they got to do away with them. And the latter is not a realistic option because they make way too much money on them. So that goes to my whole theory of why I don't think Bama's falling out no matter what. Because you got really one of, if not the most powerful conferences in college football. With their 1 seed, I know Bama's ranked behind Georgia, but they are technically the 1 seed in the SEC. Mm-hmm. If you tell one of the most powerful conferences in college football, your 1 seed could miss our 12-team playoff because they played in your conference championship game, the SEC may burn the whole thing down. Like, they may just take their ball and go home and say, you know, we're going to do our own thing. You guys have fun. Let us know when you figure it out. And think about this: there's a world where Alabama, SEC championship game participant, is not in the playoff. And there are 2 G5s and 2 Big 12s in the playoff. I just threw up. Many people just threw up listening to that.
Yeah. People had to pull over in their cars.
Yeah. What if Georgia wins like 31-13?
I don't care.
You don't even think in like kind of a blowout scenario Bama falls out?
Oh, no. There is a chance they fall out. I'm telling you, I would never drop them out. Because if they're in today, then they're in, period. But yeah, like, I keep listening to the folks who really follow this hardcore and the people who have sat in with the committee before. Like, they take some of the media folks, they fly them down to Texas and they have them sit through the mock selection process. And everybody who sat through that thing keeps on putting their predictions out, and they have Bama losing if they lose to Georgia and maybe dropping out. I don't think those people are all stupid. Like, they clearly know what they're talking about. Mm-hmm. So yeah, there's a chance. I just think it's insane. And if you do it, they're going to be much bigger ramifications for the SEC. Because you notice, like, I saw Greg Sankey Saturday night, the commissioner of the SEC, and it made me remember that guy hasn't said a word about this. No one in the SEC has said a word about it from the league office. They haven't tried to politic. They haven't tried to influence publicly or privately. They haven't said a word to me. Like, they haven't reached out to try and stoke the fire. I think they're just waiting to see the outcome. And if Bama wins, it's a moot point. If Bama loses, that 12 hours between that game and the selection the next day will be... Honestly, it'll be about like the coaching world was over the past few days with Lane Kiffin and LSU. Just be total insanity.
God, I have a question. If Bama were to win this weekend, do they earn one of the top 4 spots and then they get the bye and then Georgia would fall to whatever that would be?
Yeah, I think that's the way it would work. That's the other side of the coin.
Which is also a crazy thing that
or 3 Big Ten teams potentially get a bye.
I think the SEC champ is going to have a first-round bye. Whoever that is.
Yeah.
Georgia, obviously. I think Bama would jump up there too. Then Georgia falls to hosting a playoff game. And I think the way it's projected right now, 3 of the 4 teams that would host a playoff game are SEC teams. Mm-hmm. And then it would probably be Oregon or maybe, I think Texas Tech is going to jump up and take one of the spots, by the way, as the Big 12 champ. So yeah, like Oregon and 3 SEC teams hosting against who God knows who from the G5 ranks. And they're probably 3 touchdown favorites.
What if Virginia beats Duke?
What if Duke beats Virginia?
That's what I meant.
That's
what if
an even
Duke
more
beats
fun
Virginia?
one.
Because you have Virginia sitting at the 11th seed right now. They lose to Duke, who's nowhere to be found on this chart. What then?
I want to remind people, okay? We talked about the ACC doomsday scenario on the locker room a month ago. And then Duke lost to Virginia, ironically, and we kind of thought, okay, doomsday scenario off the table. The ACC is so bad, it lost its way back into the doomsday scenario. The doomsday scenario is, and this is going to sound fake, but it's not. Duke is 7-5 playing for a conference championship. because many of their losses are out of conference losses.
Yeah.
Duke is a 2.5-point dog against Virginia. If they beat Virginia, Duke, the best we counted it last night, Duke is not in the top 40 of the AP right now. And that's as far as you can count. You can't even go past 40. They're not even receiving votes. If Duke wins, they won't be close to one of the 5 highest ranked conference champs, so they won't get an automatic bid. Those auto bids would go to James Madison and whoever wins the American Athletic Conference, and then the rest of the Power 4 league champs. And so the question would become for the committee on Selection Sunday, are we going to put Miami in the playoff, basically? Because that would be the ACC's only shot at getting a team in the playoff. And if they say no to Miami, like they have been doing, you're looking at the ACC being shut out entirely. Which, again, we floated on the locker room a month ago. I saw the comment section. They thought we were idiots. They thought we weren't reading the rules correctly.
Right.
No, we were reading the rules correctly. It's just a scenario no one ever thought would happen has already happened in the second year of the 12-team playoff. That's the world you live in. That's the world you woke up in this morning.
So Virginia loses to Duke. What is North Texas's record? Why are they even?
They're like 11-1, I think.
They're 11-1.
Yeah, North Texas plays.
I've already had my stance on the G5s. You need to be undefeated.
Yeah, well,
Have to be.
look here.
And their coach just left.
So
But
did
now
Tulane.
we're in a situation that we don't need multiple G5s, but we need a G5 to take out the ACC. Like if Duke wins, that will obviously be the domino effect. But we kind of need the G5 a little bit right now.
If you want,
Because
the
no matter
chaos.
what, we're accepting. We have to accept the rules of the game, which is these top 5 ranked conference champions. They get in.
Yeah.
Here's the other side of it, though. If Virginia beats Duke, it still just means a G5 team and Virginia are going to be in.
Right.
And those just total blowout city against the 5 and the 6 seed in their building in round 1. Both of those games are going to be between 14 and 21 point spreads. It will be SMU Penn State last year. Like it'll be that all over again. And you just know you're mailing it in. You try and stay healthy. And it's going to be a really boring watch.
But what about the spirit of college football?
I'm all for it. That's why I tune in every Saturday in the fall. That is great. But you said the spirit of college football, right?
Yeah.
And the spirit of college football sometimes gets misconstrued to where every single team in the 136 team field of FBS is playing the same level of football. Everyone knows they're not. Both of you have actually gone on record as saying, yeah, there should probably be a G5 playoff. I've beat that drum for years, but you come to a total impasse because they just push back and say, no, we don't want our own playoff. We want the right to earn our way to get our head beat in. Like they would rather have that world.
Yeah. So as it stands right now, North Texas is going to play Oregon at Oregon.
Or North Texas or Tulane, one or the other.
So one of those teams are, if you're Oregon and your schedule comes out and you have them in one of your first 4 games, you're not looking at that going, oh shit, we got to win this one. And now we sit here in the playoff and the most important games of the year, your first game is against Tulane or North Texas.
Yeah. For the spirit of college football, yeah.
Both coaches are gone. Yeah, G's over here saying both coaches are gone. Which, why not Vandy, who's 10-2, or even Texas? It's 9-3.
That's what it should be.
That's what it should be. Absolutely. But is Vandy out?
I think it looks like Vandy's out. I think it's crazy they dropped in
They
the
don't
AP
deserve
poll.
to be out, man.
They dropped in the AP poll after beating Tennessee. But look, it's another no-win, okay? Because when you're arguing Vandy, you're not arguing Vandy. You're arguing a 5th SEC team. That's all the public hears.
Yeah.
And they're going to say, well, who is Vandy beating? And then you say, dude, they just beat Tennessee on the road. Well, Tennessee didn't even have a win against anyone in conference with a winning record. It's like, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole, I could pick apart every resume up there this side of Ohio State and Indiana. I could easily do that. It's very, very selective enforcement of criteria to pick apart someone's resume. Bottom line is, if we sat on this bus in July and anyone said, rubbed the magic 8 ball this morning, I know for a fact Vandy's going 10-2. They're going to end the season red hot. They're going to drop 45 in Neyland Stadium. They're going to run for over 300 against Tennessee. They're going to have a bona fide Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. Like Diego Pavia's not going to get hurt. He's going to go the whole wire-to-wire season. You're asking what seed are they going to be?
Yeah.
You're going to ask, are they going to get a first-round bye? Are they going to Atlanta? Are they going to play for the conference title? And instead it's, yeah, sorry, we're going to drop you a spot in the AP. Bye.
That makes no sense to me.
You have other
Jack's over here golf clapping in the corner.
That's pain. That's pain coming out.
Yeah.
The total chaos scenario we could be looking at here. Georgia wins big. BYU beats Texas Tech, and Duke wins.
Okay. I can address those one at a time.
Good luck.
BYU beats Texas Tech. They're both in.
Yeah.
BYU is the conference champ. Texas Tech's not going to drop out. All right. Duke wins. That means 2 G5 teams are going in. So Duke wouldn't be in. So at that point already, just with those 2 parameters, you have 2 G5s and 2 Big 12 teams. So a third of your playoff is going to be made up of G5 or Big 12. Are you going to drop Alabama out? If they get blown out, like I'm not, independent of what I think should happen, I think the committee would drop them out. At which point you would have this whole sidebar of chaos with the SEC, and they would have a legit gripe. Georgia would be in. That's just going to be a crazy. I mean, you would really get around to even asking, is Notre Dame in? Because you got to make room for all these teams.
Right.
And by the way, my opinion is Notre Dame is not nearly as solidly just in the playoff as people assume they are, because you don't know how many teams you got to make room for. So I dropped Notre Dame out before I dropped Alabama out in that scenario, because one of them played for conference title and one of them didn't, and I'm not going to punish them. But then the other part of that is, so let's just look at tomorrow night. We're recording this on Monday. Tuesday night, the rankings come out. We assume Notre Dame's probably still going to be ranked ahead of Miami, but Miami's got another data point now. They went and smoked Pitt, worse than Notre Dame did on the road, and we're going to have to find out, does the committee look at that and still say, yeah, we don't care, we just think Notre Dame's better? So we know you guys played head-to-head, and we know that Miami's beaten several comparable opponents worse than Notre Dame did, but we don't care about that because our eyeballs tell us Notre Dame's better, which I agree with, by the way. I just think it's irrelevant because you should have set parameters that actually matter, and they are enforced. So we got to find out where Miami and Notre Dame are going to be tomorrow night so that we can project who would potentially be left out. And then you want a real chaos scenario. Ole Miss is sitting there as the projected 7 seed right now.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Well,
They
the
lost their
coaching
whole staff.
Yeah, coaching
Offensive
staff
side
leaves.
is gutted.
Coaching staff leaves, and the committee has it in their protocol to redefine how good a team is if you've lost a player, like Jordan Travis, 2023,
Undefeated Florida State.
or if you lose coaches. Ole Miss this year. So there is this world where the committee looks at Ole Miss and says, sorry, guys. That's chaos.
But and also to
That is
domino
fucking
effect of that chaos too, based on the rules of conference champion winners and everything else. It's like, the coaches leaving at Tulane and North Texas.
Yep.
They'll be in the playoff without their head coach.
Yep, but
just
the
due
difference
to
there,
the structure.
difference there is if Tulane wins the American this Saturday, they're a conference champ. There's this designation on them. It doesn't matter if the committee thinks they're the worst team in the country. They've got to put them in if they're one of the 5 highest ranked conference champs. With Ole Miss, they're just an at-large team. So it's totally up to the committee whether they get put in. Just like it's the same with Notre Dame. It's the same with Oklahoma. It would be the same with Oregon, with Texas A&M. They're at-larges. So the committee's got to give you a spot. You didn't technically earn it by this designation of being a conference champ. It's messy. It's really messy.
Is this fixed, or does it hurt more if you expand the playoff? Which I know you've been a guy that is totally against. But then you get Vandy in, Ole Miss stays. These G5 teams, I don't know what the hell they even deal with them. Virginia's in.
Let me tell you my theory. It was the same when it was a 4-team playoff. I've never thought that just because people are mad, it means something's wrong. I just think it means you have something really valuable, and there aren't a whole lot of them, and a bunch of people want them. Bunch of flawed teams. So no team's perfect up here. So we're looking at varying degrees of flawed resumes, and we're trying to find the 12 least flawed, although you could argue that's not really the case with the whole G5 thing. But no, I don't think you should ever expand it. You can't expand the playoff enough to ever stop conversation and ever stop anger and ever stop hurt feelings. It would be the exact same. Like, people always say this, but they're right. You would have to expand the thing to 136 teams before you fully rid yourself of people being upset that they got left out. So you either expand it to the point where there are still some upset people and hurt feelings, but it's really, really must-see stuff late November, early December, or you expand it to the point where not only does everyone who deserves to get in, but we also probably throw in a few that don't deserve to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what puts more value? What puts more premium on regular season games?
Those who deserve to get in, get in.
And maybe if one or two have to get left out, that just means the room's really packed. Like, no one stands in line to get into a building where there's room for everyone. You stand in line because it's pretty exclusive and it means something to get in there.
Mm-hmm. Do you think we have this issue if we were back in time and it's a 14 playoff?
You always had the issue. It's just you wouldn't be arguing about 12, 13, 14 because you would know, man, they were way on the outside.
Right.
Your logic there is what I always think about.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm getting upset, like I'll get upset inevitably about someone getting left out of this thing. But I always try and tell myself, dude, just think back to the 4-team era. You're arguing about teams right now that would have been way, way, way outside the 4-team field. And even back then, we used to say, dude, there aren't 4 teams that can win a title this year. Just like this year, there probably aren't 6, 7, 8 teams that are going to be able to win a title with how Ohio State looks. So we're really arguing semantics, and you get sucked into it. And like I feel good about Vandy. I love what they've done. I think it would be insane if Bama got left out because they're in the SEC championship game. You're crazy if you punish Ole Miss because they lost their coaching staff, which those players have no control over. Do I think any of them are going to win a national title? Probably not. And if that's the whole purpose of this thing, like I know there are dual compartments. I understand 2 different conversations.
Yeah, this is why college football is the best.
It's going to be a mess, man.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
I love the chaos, man. It's like I just want the 12 best. Like we're sitting here waiting on some of these games to matter. A couple of the championship games don't even matter this weekend, so you want to see how that's all going to play out. And we're this scenario where you got a couple Big 12 teams in, a couple G5 teams in. Do you leave out Miami? Do you leave out Notre Dame? It's like Miami, Notre Dame are very strongly one of the 12 best teams in college football.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so is Vandy.
Same with Vanderbilt. You got this Texas noise being louder than ever now.
Let me say this.
And sometimes it weirdly makes sense.
Yeah, no, they do a great job of like spinning it on you.
The semantics are very good.
Let me say this about Miami. Miami has put themselves in this position. Okay, so you can't be losing to Louisville and SMU. You can lose one of them. You can't lose both.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to absolve them of that. It's 100% their fault they're even in this position. But like I said, we got to apply that logic evenly. So Notre Dame lost a couple of games, including one at home to A&M off a bye in desperation mode. Don't be losing that game. So like everyone has put themselves in these positions. Bama, -3 turnovers against Oklahoma. That's why you're in this position. So if we remove that sentiment from the equation, I'm not picking Miami to win a national title, even if they get in the playoff. But I will say, if you were to ask Georgia or Ohio State or Indiana's coaching staff, the one group of personnel that would concern them the most are the defensive guys that Miami has, because they probably have the 2 best ends in college football right now. Extremely good, like long, good future Sunday athletes that could give you problems. They're probably not going to win 4 games to go win it all, but they, in a one-off scenario, could give you way more problems than probably some of these other teams that are going to get in.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cristobal talking about it's like Jurassic Park every day at practice with those guys.
He's not wrong.
He's not
wrong.
Yeah. I just this whole G5 thing, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know why they would be allowed to be in just because they won their conference championship.
It's like what the rules and stuff are.
Yeah,
like,
I know what the rules are.
Several times throughout the last few weeks.
I'll tell you what I think the change is going to be.
I think
the change that they could make right now that would greatly absolve this is keep all the rules as they are, but make the rule where your 5 highest ranked conference champs all have to be ranked at a certain level. Like they all have to be top 15. So that if Duke wins Saturday or North Texas wins or JMU wins, they're a conference champ. If they're not in the top 15 at least, then we're just going to override it. And you're not getting in.
It becomes an at-large.
Yeah, it just becomes an at-large spot.
No, I like that a lot.
Because if you did that, let's say Duke wins Saturday, you're probably changing 3 spots. Or let's just say the G5 gets to keep 1 spot. Or so you're going to have 1 G5 in. But you would free up 2 other spots that right now are going to be held by G5 and whoever else makes that. So, or at least 1 other spot. So, yeah, I think they will move pretty immediately. They can't rid the playoff of G5 because it's illegal. So they can't do that. What they can do is keep the G5 with 1 spot and make sure in the future the G5 is not getting more than 1 spot because everyone knows it's a farce.
Right. If there's 2 spots open, who are you, Josh Pate, giving the nod to?
At-larges?
Yeah. If we said, hey, the G5, that doesn't exist anymore. Duke beats Virginia. So ACC is kind of out.
Probably Miami and Vanderbilt would be the two. But then Texas would come in and say, if we're even in that conversation, we belong in over Vandy because we beat them.
Right.
So I'd be okay with that.
That's what's crazy too. Texas 3 lost, but they did beat Vanderbilt.
Yep.
3 top 10 teams, right?
Yeah, they beat A&M and OU as well.
Sure did.
Took care of OU.
Took care of OU. And OU to me is one of the more unstable teams in this whole bracket. Like their defense is really good, but they don't really do a whole lot on offense.
But their schedule against anybody else, like they've taken care of business they needed to where they're a 2-loss team, but it's like
Their road wins.
yeah,
Yep.
like they're in. What do you do if BYU loses by a game-winning field goal against Texas Tech?
Got to see where they're ranked tomorrow night. If they're not in the top 10, they're not going to be in. So they got to be in the top 10. It's the same thing with Bama. Only I think BYU is even more vulnerable to getting bumped out because they're in an inferior conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess my argument is like for BYU is like when you're looking at all this chaos, all this semantics, BYU would have only lost. Their only team that they've lost to is Texas Tech.
Yeah.
And if they're losing on a game-winning field goal in the Big 12 championship, and that one team who beat them, yes, they have 2 losses, but they've only lost to one team. That one team who beat them, that's what gets them out. Whereas if the game-winning field goal for Texas Tech happens, and say Bama loses and they're a 3-loss team, but you can't keep Alabama out, but you bump out BYU. Like again, I'm here for the ride.
I think
I'm gonna have popcorn sitting there. I love all the chaos. I love rooting for all these teams in a weird way, but also shitting on teams in a weird way. I love all the entertainment.
You know, the other thing is with the SEC is I think it's a low-key really good thing for Bama that Georgia got in the SEC title game. Because even if you lose to them, you get to make the argument, we went into their building and beat them earlier in the year. So you're telling us we're getting bumped out because we couldn't beat Georgia. No, we already did.
Right.
And we beat them in their building early in the year. And then we got penalized because we earned the right to play them again. And we couldn't beat them a second time around. Like I don't need to make the talking points for the SEC because they're pretty obvious in that scenario. But with Brigham Young, just watch the show tomorrow night. And if they're behind Alabama already, which I think they will be, if you get that apples to apples comparison, they'll have no leverage over Alabama.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't. I don't think they'll be in.
Yeah.